And the UK winners are... The latest from our daily newsletter at podnews.net. In the UK, the Radio Academy's ARIAS took place last night. Among the full winners, novel for wonder is Harsh Reality, the story of Miriam Rivera, won Best Factual Series.
Do you realise the damage you've done by doing this?
Reduced listening for Spotify's Decode took gold in Best New Show and Best Specialist Music Show.
Dig deep beneath the surface of one iconic UK album.
The Longtime Academy won Best Independent Podcast.
Changing the way we choose to engage with time can be life-changing.
Max Creative's Life Sentence took home the Creative Innovation Award.
I think it's time for an earthquake of the right variety.
And the Grassroots Award was won by We Are Voices.
I've never thought in my wildest dreams I'll be described by adjectives of single mother, asylum seeker. Not even at this stage have I even thought of defining the word refugee.
All the links are in our show notes and our newsletter at podnews.net. Chartable has clarified its future in an email to users. The company will be focused on publisher tools and analytics, it says. They'll be available within Megaphone, but tools and insights will also be available to all publishers, whoever they host with. The company was bought by Spotify in February. The world's largest podcast host, Anchor, was down for most of yesterday, from around 8 in the morning until 5:15 Eastern Time. Publishers had problems accessing their website or posting new episodes. Listeners were unable to download episodes either. In early April, the Apple Podcasts Top 10 in Ukraine was entirely full of Ukrainian podcasts. For the first time. Oleshi Kushnir from the iZone Media podcast studio writes about the changes in consumption in the country. We'll link to that from our show notes and our newsletter at podnews.net. Common Sense Media is to launch podcast content ratings for kids and family shows, they've announced. The Cyberwire has announced a new service, CISA Cybersecurity Alerts. They're flash security alerts from the US government, not that flash. It's a standalone feed. You're welcome to add it to your own tech shows. A number of public media broadcasters have joined a podcast accelerator program for on-demand podcasting for children. It's to be run by PRX, BBC Kids and the CPB. A podcast hosting and monetization platform called Pamper Me Network is apparently promising $1,000 per month for every 1,000 listeners. The company pays a sign-up bonus of $1 per listener, but appears to take a 50% cut of all earnings. And remote recording tool Riverside has launched an iPad app. In People News, Neil Carruth is to join Freakonomics Radio as Executive Vice President and General Manager. He'd been working at NPR for almost 23 years, lately overseeing a large portfolio of NPR podcasts. In an all-staff email to NPR News, which we reproduce in parts today, he notes that his time at NPR has spanned nearly half the history of the organisation so far. Frank Rachopi writes about the legacy he leaves behind. And Sarah Van Mosel has joined iHeartMedia as Executive Vice President of the iHeart Audience Network. She'll also assist sales operations, publisher development and podcast slate partnerships for iHeart Podcasts. She was previously at Stitcher and SXM Media. And in podcast news, Our Turn to Talk is new this week, tackling an alarming decline in the mental health of US teenagers. Hosted by Anastasia Vlasova, the podcast talks to affected teens, parents and mental health experts. A missent email and a guy who wants to see his brother in prison. Square Peg has just been launched, a story about bitterness, family secrets and the things we bury in the past. The show is new from Lucid 48. And SailGP, the purpose-driven global racing championship, has released the first episode of Deep Dive, a podcast covering the event. From Q Podcasts, it'll follow the event across several continents in a single championship. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.